Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on the life divine with our beloved Ranga. Page 374, beginning with the sentence, "One problem still remains to be solved." And we have read it already.
So it's quite a while. We had the last session. So he is actually discussing the different planes of consciousness and how every time you go to a new level of consciousness, you see things in a different way. Okay. So for instance, at the highest level, the problems of all the dualities in the physical world get solved. When you are at the lowest level here in the physical world, there are dualities. To everything, there is an equal and opposite. They seem to be opposites. But as you keep climbing in consciousness higher and higher, at the highest level, they just seem to be two aspects of the same thing. They are not opposites, but they are the obverse and the reverse of a coin. It's the same coin, but if you look this side, it is, and if you look this side, good, evil, hot, cold. These are all the dualities.
So even murder.
Yes, murder is violence and peace. So you don't need to go into details of murder, okay, but violence, a larger framework. So all these are the dualities. That's what he's discussing. Now he says, the time and the timeless, the one and the many. So all these problems get solved at that highest level. So now he wants to discuss another problem, which is that we'll see. The one and the many he has dealt with. The static condition and the movement. Then the infinite and the finite. All this he has dealt with. Now let's see what he's saying. He is going to talk about the manifestation and the non-manifestation. One problem still remains to be solved, and it can be solved on the same basis. It is the problem of the opposition between the non-manifest and the manifestation. That which is non-manifest, how does it get manifested in the world? It seems to be a miracle. Suppose you have a gross example, but as near to the truth as possible, is a huge amount of clay. Okay? Pots and pans are there in it inherently. They are there potentially, but they are not yet manifested. How do you manifest that? It requires Maya to be able to manifest that. Maya is the power of the divine to create forms out of that which seems to be formless.
So the question then is, how does the divine manifest in humanity?
If we look at all these, then that also becomes obvious. He is the infinite and he becomes the finite in man. So you can think of it that way. Or he is the one, but he becomes the many in everybody. The same problem, all these problems one by one he is solving, going to the highest level and seeing that they are only different aspects of the same basic thing. There is no opposition. Okay. So the problem now being discussed is the non-manifest and the manifestation. For it might be said that all that has been advanced hitherto may be true of the manifestation, but the manifestation is a reality of an inferior order, a partial movement derived from the non-manifest reality, and when we enter into that which is supremely real, these truths of the universe cease to have any validity. He is referring to the experience of the ascetic. When you go from the physical plane to the spiritual planes of consciousness, the world seems to disappear. Okay? You are entering into a non-manifestation. So that's the problem he is dealing with. It might be said that whatever we have said is true at this level, but when it goes there, it is changing. So how to explain that? Might be true of the manifestation. But the manifestation is reality of an inferior order. Why does it say inferior order? Because in the non-manifest, your consciousness is vast. In the physical world, your consciousness is very limited and ignorant. That's why it's inferior. There, when you are in the self, you have no form. You are everywhere, omnipresent. Here, you are very much present in your body, mind, life. So these are the problems. So how to solve them? He will tell you at the highest level the problem can be solved. Okay? The non-manifest is a timeless, utterly eternal, an irreducible absolute self-existence to which the manifestation and its limitations can give no clue, or only a clue that by its insufficiency is illusory and deceptive. So he's saying the non-manifest is there is no time, no space there. We have seen that. It is static. When there is a static condition, obviously there is no time. So you are in a timeless condition. Then he is saying, so when you are there in the non-manifest reality, you are entering into a consciousness which is absolutely real. And these things which you are seeing to be real in the physical world, my computer, my table, my chair, my clothes, you, your watch, all seem to have no validity. So he's using a pretty vast word, validity. There is also a gradation of validity. Totally non-existent, illusion, or seeming illusion. Okay. Or you're not seeing the reality. There is a gradation. Absolute illusion and absolute non-existence. You can see it in both ways.
So the Buddhists would see in that second level,
yes,
everything as illusion.
Yes. In fact, they go as far as to say that it is not only illusion, it is non-existence. There is no such thing.
Oh.
Because if you go to the absolute, then this has no value at all in comparison. Or, as Sri Aurobindo saw, he is seeing forms, but they are only shadow forms. He uses the word silhouette. You are just seeing the silhouettes of forms. Because even in that consciousness, Sri Aurobindo was doing all his work. He was reading the Upanishads, he was doing all his work, he was taking classes, he was giving talks. When he was in the Ferguson College, he was supposed to give a talk. And he told his guru, how can I give a talk when I am unable to think? So he said nothing. You just sit quiet and turn your consciousness upwards. The words will come by themselves.
Who was this, Lele?
Lele.
Ah.
He told him that. And that's what happened. So at the end of 1 hour, everybody was clapping at the end of his talk. But he did not mentally know what he had said. Even all these things that he has written through the silent mind. No mental construction. The mind is absolutely calm and quiet, and the inspiration is flowing through and getting recorded here.
I understand this from poetry. When you rise to a higher level, something comes down. And then a higher level, something more comes down.
And you are only an instrument. You are only a recording instrument.
Yes.
In fact, for Nirodha, he used to write in Bengali. He didn't know what he had written. He's telling Sri Aurobindo, please explain to me what I have written. It was so funny as all that. So they don't know.
But he spoke of Arjava entering an occult area.
Yeah. But that was the origin from where he was getting. But the most remarkable poetry we are now serializing in Mother India, Harindranath Chattopadhyay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic poetry.
Yeah.
Simple language, but so deep and so clear. Magnificent. But Note one thing very clearly. All these poets, Niruddha, Amal Kiran, Arjava,
Harindranath.
Harindranath, all of them writing under the inspiration of Sri Aurobindo. He is sitting there and giving them inspiration. They are receiving only and writing. Some are capable of receiving very well. Some are capable of receiving partially. Some are receiving fairly well. And some can't receive, depending on your sense of receptivity. But as soon as Sri Aurobindo was not there,
Stop.
all the poetry of these famous poets vanished. What's the proof? The proof is that Sri Aurobindo is not there. He was the one giving the inspiration. To such an extent that he asked Narad once. Narad is saying, please help me to write. Send me inspiration. So Sri Aurobindo tells him, at what time do you sit for writing?
Yeah.
So he says, I sit at this time. He says, okay. So now he is focusing and sending the inspiration. It's not something that you spent 2 hours earlier and you are getting it now. Directly. So, these truths of the universe cease to have any validity. The non-manifest is the timeless, the utterly eternal, and irreducible absolute self-existence to which the manifestation and its limitations can give no clue, or only a clue that by its insufficiency is illusory and deceptive. So, we don't understand this static condition at all at our level. There is no clue to it. How to go there? No clue. That's what he's saying. This raises the problem of the relation of time to the timeless spirit. How is time related to the timeless? Time and timeless. Space and spaceless. For we have supposed, on the contrary, that what is in unmanifestation in the timeless eternal is manifested in time eternity. If that is so, if the temporal is an expression of the eternal, then however different the conditions, however partial the expression, yet what is fundamental in the time expression must be in some way pre-existent in the transcendence and drawn from the timeless reality. So, that which is being manifested here must be there in essence, in potential there. There is a connection.
Yeah.
It's exactly like the tree and the seed. You don't see in the seed, you don't see the tree, but it is there. So when it manifests what is there, you get the tree. Exactly in the same way, the non-manifestation contains the manifestation and it gets manifested. How does it get manifested? By the power of Maya, the power of the divine to create forms. Okay? In some way pre-exist in the transcendence and drawn from the timeless reality. For if not, in other words, if the non-manifestation does not contain this, okay, these fundamentals must come into it direct from an absolute which is other than time or timelessness. So, is there any other possibility? He is discussing. Suppose the timeless does not contain the non-manifestation does not contain the manifestation, then when the manifestation takes place, from where is it coming? Maybe it's coming from something else which is more than the non-manifest. That's what he's saying. Logically. Okay. So,
Yeah. From an absolute, he says.
Yeah. For if not, these fundamentals must come into it direct from an absolute which is other than time or timelessness. And the timeless spirit must be a supreme spiritual negation, an indeterminable basing the absolute's freedom from limitation by what is formulated in time. So, Now that's interesting. He's saying, if it is so, if it is that the non-manifest really does not contain what has to be manifested, the manifestation is coming from elsewhere. The seed does not contain the tree. And yet when it is put in, it creates a tree. So where is the tree coming from? Not from the seed, but from something else. If that is true, then the seed is absolute negation. It's a total blank. That's what he's saying.
So he's not agreeing to
No,
this.
he doesn't agree with that.
Not at all.
He doesn't.
And
He's just examining the possibilities.
Right. And the formless producing the form
Yeah.
would be similar.
Yes. All the basic principle is the same.
Mhm.
That's why he's examining each one separately and telling you the same. So, this is what the Mayavadin, the ascetic, is experiencing, the Buddhist. It's a blank. It's a negative blank. So it's not a positive blank. The positive blank is a featurelessness which contains all features. But the negative absolute, the negative non-manifest, is a blankness without any features in it. That's what the ascetic experiences. And the Buddhist. Okay. So it must be the negative to the time positive in the same relation to it as the nirguna and to the saguna. The nirguna is the featureless and the saguna is the, they use the words qualitied and unqualitied. That which has got qualities and that which. So it is possible to experience the non-manifest as a negative state. It's also possible to experience it as a positive state. But then you are examining, you are in the, where you see all the features are there. So the nirguna can be experienced in two ways. A real blank or a blank which contains the possibilities. Okay? But in fact, what we mean by the timeless is a spiritual status of existence not subject to the time movement or to the successive or the relative time experience of a past, present and future. So now he is saying, but in fact, what we mean by the timeless is a spiritual status of existence not subject to time, movement, or to the successive or the relative time experience of a past, present and future. So in the timeless, you don't have any movement at all, nor can you get the relative time experience of past, present and future. The timeless spirit is not necessarily blank. There you are. So the timeless spirit is not necessarily a blank. It is a blank which contains all the possibilities. Okay? So it may hold all in itself, but in essence, not the features. Okay? Without reference to time or form or relation or circumstance, perhaps in an eternal unity. Eternal unity of all these things. The whole, everything that is getting manifested is there in the unmanifest, all together in an eternal unity. It's just one essence which is distributing itself to all these things. Somewhat like the essence of all gold ornaments is the raw gold. That is the essence. And all the forms that can be made out of gold are earrings, nose rings, anklets, armlets, bracelets, necklace. So these are the manifestations and forms of that which is essentially the formless gold. Okay, so you can experience that We are using gold as an example, but this gold can also be seen as nothing. That's what the Buddhist is saying. Without reference to time or form or relation or circumstance, perhaps in an eternal unity. So I'm suddenly using the word perhaps, because you can view it both ways. Okay, so if you remember, in the triple status of the supermind, the first state is a oneness, the essence. The second state is you can start seeing the manifested forms. The waves are becoming into form. So that's why he's using the word perhaps. It depends at which level you are seeing. And in the third status of the supermental, the forms are more clear than the essence. In other words, the waves are more clear than the ocean. In the first one, you are seeing only the static ocean. But it contains all the possibilities of waves. In the second one, the waves are beginning to form. And if an individual experiences that consciousness, he will see the vast ocean of consciousness and he will see small individual ripples. But in the third one, the individuality is more formed, but in the background he will see that there is a vast ocean. So that's why he's using the word perhaps. Okay? It depends on which level you have experienced. Perhaps in an eternal unity. Eternity is the common term between time and the timeless spirit, because both are eternal. Even time, there is eternity in time, and there also there is eternity in timelessness. That's a common factor. What is in the timeless, unmanifested, implied, essential, appears in time in movement, or at least in design and relation, in result and circumstance. So all these are getting his description of manifestation and form, at least in design and relation and result and circumstance. So each one, if you see carefully, the design is there. The design is it's very interesting, because design is a feature of all forms. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
You are so fond of plants. Think of all the type of leaves you have. The design, it is designed there. Okay, the tiny leaves, or bigger leaves and different shapes, long leaves, or the coconut leaves with so many different forms, or see the banana leaf, huge one thing like that, or you can see different shapes of leaves. So design, he is talking of the design. Then relation, result and circumstance. Depending on the circumstance, all these things also change. What will happen in a desert will be different from what will happen in a warm climate. So circumstance also makes a difference. These are all factors of manifestation. Design, relation, result and circumstance. These two then are the same eternity or the same eternal in a double status. They are a twofold status of being and consciousness. One, an eternity of immobile status, the other, an eternity of motion in status. Of motion in status.
But it is the same eternity.
Yes. Ramakrishna's explanation, as I told you, the sea, when it is quiet, it's a self, not manifestation. When the sea starts making waves, it's the physical world. That's the only difference. One is static, one is in movement. And when there is movement, there is time. When it is static, there is no time.
Namaste all.